around at the front. We're looking at the very front, the curvature of the D with the kind of greenish dome up there. That is the Sheldonian Theater. This was actually designed by Sir Christopher Wren. What else did he design?
St. Paul's. St. Paul's.
Very good. Okay. He is also a graduate of this university, Christ Church College, actually I should correct myself, saying Christ Church College is generally frowned upon because it is the only college in the world that is both a college and a cathedral, and it was in fact a cathedral first, and it's also the cathedral for the Oxford Sea area. Again, only place in the world like it. But that is where Sir Christopher Wren graduated from, along with Lewis Carroll or Charles Dodgson, and we'll see that a bit later, and you can generally start to see some of Wren's influences, the styles he tended to like to use. Whereas at St. Paul's you saw some definitive Gothic architecture. You'll notice here he wanted to break from that just a little bit. And the reason why this was established is because St. Mary the Virgin Cathedral, and we're just missing the spire right here, but you'll get to see it, and I hope you all pay £3 and go ahead and hike up the spire. You get to see the best rooftops. That is where the City of Spires, the Dream City of Spires, which was a phrase coined by Matthew Arnold, poet. You'll get to hike up that, and actually, because people wanted to keep that strictly as a place of religious worship, they didn't want to keep having graduations and everything out of there. That was actually the main reason why the Sheldonian even had to come up. So today, you have concert performances there. I went there and saw beautiful symphony performances during my residency here. You also have general meetings. This is also where they hold graduations. The only thing they don't do in there is drama, where the courtyard is and also where the library is. They call it the Bridge of Sighs because they claim that as students would march across it to their exams or whatever else, you would hear their sighs. When in fact what this is actually modeled after is not the Bridge of Sighs in Venice, which connected the Doge's Palace with the prison, so you'd have the prisoner sigh. This is actually modeled after the Rialto Bridge, which is a popular shopping area. It's a bridge with shops lining on either side of it. Okay? Only one of 4 in the world, and you might see one of those later in this trip. In fact, the University of Oxford doesn't exist. Oxford is made up of 36 colleges and a number of halls. Halls were like these smaller entities that were established. Colleges, more of an academic focus, flourished after that. The major way that people get their education here is what's called a tutorial system, and it sounds very much just like you might imagine. When you work with a tutor, it's usually individual or perhaps in small groups. Anywhere from 1 to 4 people is the traditional size. I had 2 in one group, and then I had individual meetings with 2 of my other professors. Okay, but what that entailed is you would meet once a week for roughly an hour and a half, couple hours, and not only just go over what you had to do for the previous week, you went week by week, but you would also do these in a series of papers. So every week I was literally producing a 10 to 12 page single-spaced essay discussing my interpretation, my analysis with my actual tutor. And so it seems rigorous in part on that account, but really as long as your time management skills were all right, it kind of worked out. And again, it's just a wonderful a place to study. And we'll walk over to the Bodleian Library. It wasn't until the late 1970s that women were even accepted any one of these. This was one of the first ones, being in 1975. Okay, but in fact, women generally were allowed to start becoming part of the Oxford University at large, either through halls or particular women's colleges like St. Hilda's, which is just down the way, as of 1920. In these buildings, it might not look like it, but the Bodleian is the world's 2nd largest library, just behind the British Library. And they have, I think, as of today, around 118 miles of shelving. Okay? That is consistently growing anywhere from 3 to 5 miles of shelving every year, because as the major library, along with the British Library, they are entitled to get a free copy of every book published in the UK and the Republic of Ireland. Okay, so there's always spaces. Now, how this is actually set up, where does it, this is clearly not 117 miles of shelving. You're right, okay. We have other buildings on the outskirts. There are tunnels that run beneath us with what look like probably a baggage claim area. There's like a moving conveyor belt. people, and I had to do this here as a visiting student, you had to really plan time. You might really take it for granted, the accessibility you have with the internet to just pull up articles online, okay? But in my day, you would have to hike the 1.5 miles in to even get the internet access at your college, and then you would have to come over here probably a good 3 days out, because kind of like in a library loan, even though it was coming locally from town, unless you knew exactly which building that book was going to be in that you needed, and you could go there, you would have to put in a request. They would conveyor belt that sucker all the way over, and then you could pick it up, and then you could read it in the reading rooms. The only disadvantage is that the reading rooms are rooms that you read in. You cannot actually check the books out from here. Can you imagine what they would lose? You could from your individual colleges. So each individual college has a library, but this is also the main one. So in terms of what I hear my students all the time claim, oh, I couldn't find anything on that topic. If you went to this university, you would never be able to fly that as a
We are in the Bodleian Library. Straight through those doors are the Divinity School. This was founded by Thomas Bodley. This is also part of the old library, which is different than the new library, which is a different place than this one. Here we have Thomas Bodley's chest. This is where he would keep valuables and important documents for the college. He's the founder of the Bodleian Library. As you can see, very intricate locks on the chest. Here we have the Drake's chair. It was made from pieces of Sir Francis Drake's ship after it was destroyed. Sir Francis Drake was a famous explorer around his time. The Radcliffe camera.
Science and medical texts are housed. Well, at least the reading rooms for them, again, kind of like the conveyor belt system for all the other parts of the college. They use this here as well. Very impressive structure. Anybody want to take a guess who inspired this? Christopher. Inspired it, yes. Finished and built it? No. This is actually one of the newer buildings.
St. Mary's Cathedral. Again, the gargoyle spires all across the roof and at the steeple. Here we can see the view of Oxford as we are at top St. Mary the Virgin Cathedral. On top of the steeple, we climbed up 120 steps. It's a beautiful view.
And again, notice the gargoyles, notice the... Alright, let's move on. Puts her feet down, just to do it because she wants to feel it.
Courtyards.
It is so pretty though. Is that real grass?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Building. Alright. Very different from the older part of the college. Magdalen was actually built in the late 1400s. The original part, along with the cloister.
Here we are at Deer Park. It's part of the Magdalen College. During the summer, sometimes they don't always have the deer out because the lands get so marshy. But here they're out today, roaming free in this lovely park. So Rachel, Dr. Cohen and I were saying that she studied with only 1 or 2 tutors at a time. Compared to our American school system, what do you think about that?
I think that's kind of strange. It's odd to think about only having 1 or 2 teachers and then only a couple of students. It's just a really small class size. From we're used to a small class size for us is 10 students. So to think of having that small is it's different.
Do you think you would learn more or less having more of the teacher's opinion and rather than other students learning with you and getting their opinions as your own? Do you think it would be more beneficial to have the smaller class of 2 people or the class of 10 or 15?
I think it would be more beneficial to have a class size of only 2 people because then you're only focusing on what you and the other person really need to learn. So if you and the other person get one concept really easily, you could just move on to other stuff instead of having to get all 15 people on the same page and then move on.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.